Previously on Flowers for Zoe, Stories for Dennis. So now the question is, what do we do when Zoe's not here?
Right now, Zoe's sitting in the hospital with this person. I don't think there's simple answers for how we help somebody, but I know for sure. The one thing I absolutely know for sure is we should never let go of anyone.
On today's podcast, we talk about protective factors, the things that make people want to live. If you feel activated by anything in today's show, make sure you reach out to somebody and talk.
I want to tell you guys about Rat Park.
Okay.
This is all about early research. Early research on drug addiction was conducted on rats. So, fun fact, what do you call a group of rats? Do you know?
I don't know.
Do you know, Zoe?
No. What do
A
you
group-
call a group of rats?
Mischief. It's like
A
a
mischief.
gaggle of geese, a mischief,
my
a
God.
mischief of rats. Okay, anyway, a lot has been learned about rats. If you Google it, you learn that they are considered to be in the top 10 of the smartest animal species. They're mammals, they're social, they live in groups, they like to learn, and they get bored. They need things to do. They need like lots of stimulation in their life. They like hanging out with other rats. They play, they groom, they forage around, they like to explore their environment. So, rats are pretty awesome, and they can be trained like a dog, and they bond with their owners. Like you must know, I know people that have rats as pets, and apparently, they bond and they are absolutely trainable, and they're warm and loving pets to have. And apparently, rats make a sound that's similar to laughing when they're happy. So I guess this is why people like them so much.
Oh,
That's
wow.
funny. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
funny that they actually laugh.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's laughing, but they say that when they're happy, they make this sound that kind of sounds like laughter. And so maybe we're just,
Interpreting it like that.
yeah, maybe. So, we're feeling all warm and fuzzy about rats. So here's the part that might be a bit of a trigger warning, or maybe be upsetting for some people to hear. But, back in the early days, just like now, I mean, research has always been done using animals. Not always, but back in the early days of addiction research, rats were placed in cages. They were often alone, and they would conduct research on drug effects. This is how we learned. So these lab rats were given in this, one of the older, one of these early research projects. What they would do is they would, so here's the rat in a cage, and they would give the rat two water bottles, and one would just be plain water, and one would be laced with heroin or cocaine. And then, the scientists would sit back and they'd observe, and they'd be like, okay, what's going on? And so here's the not so nice part, and maybe you're not going to be all that surprised to hear it, but the rats in these studies essentially just kept repetitively hitting the lever of the drug laced bottles, and they would just press the lever, press the lever, press the lever until they overdosed and died.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah. So here's why we're talking about it. So along comes this guy, Bruce Alexander, and he's a researcher who worked at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. And this is like back in the 1970s. And so he's reading all of this research, like researchers do, right? He's a scientist, and he's reading all this research and trying to he's trying to understand. And he gets really curious, and he wants to know if the setting that the rats lived in impacted what they chose to drink. So, in other words, did they choose to drink the drug laced water because they were suffering in their crappy environment? And so he's thinking about all of this, and he's like, what would happen if the rats had an environment where they could have all of their rat needs met?
It's amazing that he even thought of that.
I know, right? So picture this scientist with this like thought bubble above his head, and he's like got all these questions and these curiosities, and he's like, what if these rats just had like an amazing place to live? Would they still have overdosed on the drug water? You probably see where this is going. The rats that got to be in Alexander's research, they had a much better time, because what he did was he designed Rat Park, and Rat Park had all the things that rats like and all the things that they need to be happy. They got to live with other rats. They could socialize. They could explore tunnels and play and sleep together. You know, they were hooking up. It was pretty good for a lab rat.
So they literally, instead of going to the drug laced water, when they were happy, they went to the regular clean water.
Yes, you are right. But here's the thing. He was testing his hypothesis. He set up the experiment to have the same controls. And you guessed it, Zoe. So they had the plain old water, and they also had the bottle that was laced with opioids or cocaine. And yeah, they sipped the drugs too, right? Like they still used it, but not in the same way. They didn't binge on the drug water, and they actually drank some of the plain old water too. And the most important part that came out of this experiment was that none of the rats died from an overdose.
Holy shit.
None of them died from an overdose.
None of them.
Crazy.
So Rat Park has a lot to say about what it means to have community connections and what it means to have like a sense of belonging, at least for
Yeah.
rats. Okay. So
Right.
we know that people can't really be compared to rats, but we also know that we share a lot of the same social imperatives. There's a lot of things that happy rats need. There's a lot of things that happy people need. So many academics and people advocating for social and systems change refer to this research that came out of Rat Park to say that humans, like rats, thrive when our needs are met. If you really want to dive into this and learn more about it, you can find a really cool article by Dr. Lloyd Sederer in 2019. He wrote this article in the Psychiatric Times, and it's called What Rat Park Could Teach Us About Addiction. And this is what he says. He says, in immediate and powerful ways, opioids change how we feel, how we think, how we relate, and how we behave. These drugs transport us away from loneliness and isolation. In other words, drugs work so well that we become hijacked by them. And he advocates that if we want to help our fellow humans drink from the water bottle, we need to consider better ways of supporting people. And here's his advice: help people stay alive until they enter an effective, individually shaped recovery program.
That makes so much sense.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's pretty cool at the same time.
And it's really connected to what you quoted yesterday from Gabor Mate about the primary and the secondary problem.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there for that. What was the primary and the secondary problem about?
So basically, Gabor Mate says addiction's not the primary problem. It's the secondary problem. The primary problem is the reason why the secondary problem exists. Did I do that with any
Well, so if you think
was
about
that
it,
accurate?
well, so let's apply it to Rat Park. So basically, the primary problem was that these little rats lived in a pretty crappy environment. And so the idea is that, you know, they felt lonely and they were isolated and they didn't have all the things that they needed to be happy, healthy rats. And so the drug laced water was a really good solution to feeling pretty isolated and alone. And the rats that, you know, had fun things to do and all their needs met, sure, they sampled the drug water, but they didn't overdose. They had enough other stuff to do that they selected the water and they hydrated themselves, and they didn't die from an overdose.
So if I can apply this to Zoe, that night that Zoe came clean, so to say, with everything. I mean, her dad had died about 2 weeks prior to that. And Zoe, for those 2 weeks, was so depressed, like just so beyond depressed about her dad's death. So I was already like, oh my God, I'll do anything for Zoe right now. She's just in such a bad spot. Zoe, whatever you need, what do you need? Is there anything I can do to help? I was like in that mode. And then 2 weeks of that went by, and Zoe came to me and said, look, this is what's going on. And it quickly became so evident that Zoe was depressed about every corner of her life. There was nothing that she was looking forward to in her life. And I relate that to not to the rat park, but the other laboratory or rat laboratory that was plain and simple. Zoe she had no hopes and dreams at that point. She had no kids, she had no boyfriend, she had no father. Her mother was distant. She lost her home, she lost her things. Everything was just blah. So she didn't have a rat park at that point. She had nothing to look forward to when she woke up in the morning. And we quickly started to change that by talking about, Zoe, when you finally do quit, what do you want to do? And Zoe came up with an amazing 5-year plan. And, the first step on that plan was to get her kids back. And again, I'm relating these back to Rat Park. Rat Park represents like the mansion where you have everything in life for a rat. So what does Zoe want? What are Zoe's hopes and dreams? And let's just not talk about it, but let's actually have a plan for it. Zoe wants her kids back. She wants her kids back in a home. She wants a house. So what's it going to take to get a house?
Going to school, getting an education, following my dreams of helping people.
Yeah.
And
That was your Rat Park. That's what it makes me see. Zoe, when she was on her recovery journey, that 5-year plan played a big part, I think. I mean, Zoe, you tell us, how important was that 5-year plan to you?
It was really important to me. What were you going to say?
It's kind of a loaded question, I know. But
yeah, a little bit. But no, it was important to me because it gave me something to hold on to, something to look forward to, something that I had set in stone that I knew I wanted to do. And I knew the steps I needed to take in order to get there, right? Which I'm still working on, obviously. I still have a ways to go with it, but it gave me something to hold on to, something positive to look forward to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's and it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
Like everybody needs that plan. Everybody needs something to look forward to in life. Otherwise your life looks so dull and boring.
Yeah, that's true. You need positive things in life to work on. It's if you're not working on anything positive, what are you really doing?
Yeah.
What are you really doing?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, maybe your life's not getting any worse, but it sure as hell is not getting any better. Right?
Yeah.
So to have something positive like that to look forward to and to work on every day of your life, whether or not you're capable of getting it done in one day or not, you're working towards that goal every day, no matter what you're doing.
And we're talking big plans here.
Yeah.
They're not small plans. They're the big ones.
Yeah.
They're the 5-10 year plan type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember some of those early conversations about school. Remember? You
Yeah.
would talk about what you wanted to study, and we're talking about all kinds of things, and you would light up. You would light up, and then suddenly there was
know.
like all this stuff that you wanted to connect to. You wanted to be part of things. You wanted to be, you wanted to go to school and to have a degree and to be able to work in a field, and you would light up, and
Yeah.
suddenly you were connecting to a preferred future. You were saying, you know what, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be doing what I'm doing. I want something else. And you started to connect with some bigger picture things,
Yeah.
and your whole face would change. You would get excited.
Because it's exciting, right? I
Even
mean,
now, look at you. You're getting
because like when I think about it, it's like these positive goals that I have right now, I I've never even thought about them in my life, let alone be working to get there, you know? So it's exciting, it's new, it's something I never thought that I would be working towards. And I am. And it feels really good and exciting and fresh and new and, a little bit scary, but in a good way. It's,
And you're doing the things that you really want to do. Like
yeah.
you really would love to take an ECE course. You would
Oh
really
God,
love to take a
yes.
psychology course.
Yeah. And these are like, you know, when I was using and when I was in active addiction, like none of what I'm doing right now felt possible. It wasn't even a blinking like a thought that I had that I could possibly be doing something like this. How could I help other people if I can't help myself? Is what would have ran through my mind at that point, and now I have a couple people as of right now that I'm actively helping with their addiction and them trying to get sober and stay sober, and I'm trying to help them get into certain programs, and it's very different being on the other side of things, but it's also so rewarding to know that the little things that I've spoken about with these people have made a difference in the way they were thinking. I've given them hope. I have showed them that there is hope in getting sober and being able to stay sober, and that is so rewarding all on its own.
Yeah, what you're living life right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my personal mantra in life is to serve other people.
I think we spoke about that before, is if everybody were to just ask a person once a day, what could I do to make your life or your day easier for you? If everybody were to ask that question to somebody a day, the world would be such a better place. A lot of people don't do unless they're receiving in return. You know what I mean? Like they don't genuinely want to help other people. Like and
I
it's sad.
wonder. Yeah, I wonder about that. I think it's contagious when you help somebody one time. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
contagious and you see the benefit right away because you
Yeah.
do get a great feeling when you help
Oh God,
somebody.
it's rewarding, right?
It's
You feel
very
so
rewarding.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I
so
just I just think that since I've gotten sober and started on my recovery, my whole outlook on life is different. I mean, the patience that I now have with not just my kids but people in general is crazy. I mean, I never thought that I could have so much patience, like even in a bad
Really?
situation. Like I'm so much more understanding of not just addiction itself, but just any situation or scenario. Like I'm so calm, I'm so understanding. Like I try to put myself in other people's shoes to see why they feel that way or why they think the way they think. And I also try and put myself in other people's shoes that have a different outlook on things. Like, just because I think something is right doesn't mean there's not another way that's right. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and just because I think something's wrong, I try to understand why that person thinks it's right,
Nice.
and I find that, yeah, since I began my journey of sobriety, I have a complete different outlook on life. I'm a very different person than I once was.
Would you say different or just more of yourself?
More of
I,
yourself.
I
Because
don't know. That's a question, eh? Huh.
that is a question.
I don't know. Maybe I just, even with my kids, I'm very calm. I'm very, like, yes, I scream sometimes. Yes, I yell, but it's not like I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fucking mad. Like, and I can't control my anger. It's like I yell because I know that I'm getting across to them, not because I'm so angry that it just comes out, but
Yeah, it's a mother's anger.
yeah, like it's
Go to
just
your
like,
room.
yeah, but it's not like, I'm the type of mom that will turn around and be like, ha, 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 after I yell at them, just because I think it's funny. So like, just, and I was never like that before. Like, I just remember I used to get so frustrated over small things, and just, uh, uh, you know, eh, I just thought everybody just was stupid. Like, I really did. And now it's just so different. Like, I'm not like that. I just try and understand where everybody's coming from. It's very different now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also hear that, you're talking about your kids.
Yeah.
And when you talk about your kids, you light up, just like when you talked about school and you talk about, and you're laughing. It's you're talking about, like, yeah, like there are moments where you're parenting, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes we raise our voice, but you know, if people could see your face right now, like you're just beaming, like you're smiling, like your face is just full of a great big smile
It just
and
makes
there's
me
lots
so
of joy.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're connected.
Hmm.
You're
And I
connected.
and I have never felt, I don't even think I've ever felt like this in my life, even before my addiction started. Like, I am just so happy with life and everything that I have in it. And I appreciate everything so much more.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's good. It's a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good feeling to be able to wake up and be happy. And
Mm-hmm.
like, the worries that I used to have, I don't have anymore. I have actual normal worries in life. Like, shit, I better start filling out my, or writing my acceptance letter for university or George Brown, or am I going to go to George Brown, or am I going to go to York University? Am I going to take ECE, or should I just jump right into psychology? I have worries like that, you know, not
Nice
where
problems
am
to
I?
have. Hey.
Yeah, they're good
Yeah.
problems to have,
Yeah.
they're good options to have. I'm not worried about, you know, where my next fix is coming from. Am I going to be sick? Am I going to have money in order to keep up with my habit? Who am I going to have to avoid now? Like, they're not, like, just my worries that I have right now are good worries to have. They're
Mm-hmm.
good choices that, you know, to make. I just have so much positive things going on right now. Like, it's my life is just so different, and it's amazing. It's so amazing. Daddy. Yeah, so these past couple of weeks have been kind of busy, I guess you could say. I had a lot going on. I spoke with the people from Vita Nova to kind of switch up my program and the times that I attend, because I have the kids a lot more often lately. They stay with me through the week sometimes and do their online schooling. So it takes up a little bit more of my time now that they're with me more often. So now I do the morning program from 10 to 12, and I have the afternoon off to hang out with the kids and help them with their homework and their schoolwork in the afternoon. I also started helping a couple of people with their addiction. I'm not going to say any names just yet, but they're starting their recovery journey, and I'm helping the best that I can. And so far, it's looking really good, and they're on the right track. And I'm going to continue to do what I think that I was put here to do.